it's me again, and I'm trying out this new software. I may or may not use it. It has some cool features. I think my CPU, my computer isn't quite fast enough for this video. We will see. So, I have been getting a lot of the same questions over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I'm used to it. I was a teacher for a long time. So I'm used to the inundation of questions. That's fine. I have infinite patience. I was noted in China for being a teacher with an extreme amount of patience. I had my face on a bus saying the patient teacher. It was crazy. So I'm used to this. I've been trained for this. But the fact that people are still asking me the same questions, even though I've made videos about these topics before, means to me that the videos I did are no longer effective, or they were just never effective to begin with if people forget. Surely people's memories can't be that bad. It would be more logical if my videos weren't effective enough. So today, in order to increase effectiveness, I'd like to make this presentation about my most frequently asked questions that I seem to get. And I hope you remember this, remember your training, so when you see new FUD tactics come up that are resurfaced again, you know what to do. You are prepared. Biggest one. The purchasing of the Series A preferred share does not give you a dividend. This is false. This is false. There's been lots of evidence. There's been brokerage evidence. There's been meta IR evidence. There's been meta executive evidence saying that it is our understanding that they are valid. Yes, that is a rather legal way of structuring it. To decrease risk, I will cite also the Meta 10Q and the Meta 10K, which says the risks of investing in Meta or otherwise. And a lot of these particular arguments, you don't have to be an oil and gas expert. You can use logic and argumentative, I wouldn't say argumentative tactics, but more or less they're debate tactics. I don't like debate. I call that arguments. I'm more or less diffusing the situation than trying to add fuel to the fire. But there has been a lot of questions about this. This is still my most top question I'm getting at the minute. And I get this. Yesterday it was 12 times I got this question. Let's look at some evidence. This is from TD Ameritrade. TD Ameritrade says that they're valid. Purchasing these shares entitle you the rights to the dividend. If you choose not to use this and you choose not to believe this, which is fine. You don't have to believe it. I'm not telling you to believe anything. I'm just presenting to you this evidence. If you choose not to believe it, though, that this brokerage says that, yes, I will honor these shares for you. If, I will pay you the money for the dividend or the stock or whatever the dividend entitles you to. All the rights and privileges pertaining thereunto. If you don't believe what the brokerage is telling you, that they'll honor your casino chip and that the brokerages are lying, I'd like to know what brokerage you're using, because TD Ameritrade is kind of like a big boy brokerage. And if that's untrustworthy, let me know what brokerage is trustworthy. And if no brokerage is trustworthy, then how do you trade stocks if you're not going through a broker? Are you a market maker? I'm not sure. Are you seeing where the logic is going in this? If people want to say the broker can't be trusted, I would ask to them, okay, well, you're clearly the expert. I trust you. Who do you trust then for trading? Because it's not this big brokerage. Let's move on. There also has been the letter from Mark at Investor Relations saying essentially the same thing. Any purchased preferred share, they cannot legally use MMTLP, say that name, because it would be like pumping, quote unquote, another ticker, because they're not associated with the actual creation of that particular ticker. This is where things get very murky. Not the validity, it's just the nomenclature of which it's used is what gets murky. But here's a letter from Mark at Investor Relations talking about the validity of these shares trading on the OTC, which is not a market. Sorry, the OTC, which is not an exchange. It is a market, but it is not an exchange. I'll correct myself on that. I will also like to cite Ken Rice has talked about how in a few presentations how these shares, purchasing the preferred A series share, does give you the rights to the dividend. And if people want to further argue that, saying, well, he has to say that, so if that doesn't happen, they're not liable for it. So then would you agree that Ken Rice is lying and that Meta is lying? Right? Either he knows and he's saying that to brush off, hold harmless liability agreement, which then he's lying and don't trust him. And if Meta is lying to you, why do you continue to hold Meta shares? If the company's outright lying, why would you hold Meta shares? Right? If it's a company who has to say this because they are misleading you, why would you buy shares in this company then? And this comes from people who hold lots of Meta stock. So if people are lying to you about this in Meta, why would you hold Meta stock? Again, I don't really see the solid logic in that. Let's move on. Okay, this is a little bit more oil specific, but I've had it was 9:48 when I made this. Actually, it was like 9 o'clock. So far this morning, I've had 3 questions in regards to this. There's no proved oil on the 10K. I've talked about how oil reserves are on the books. Proved oil means in production, you're selling oil. If you're not selling oil, the oil is technically not proved. It has a $0 book value, especially if it's underdeveloped. Hence why the spin out needs to happen. Here's a copy of the Torchlight 2020 10K on page 29 that states that if the property is underdeveloped and not producing, it is assigned a $0 book value. If there was no oil, there's actual zero proved oil, why are they drilling wells for production? Why are they drilling these big boy wells? Why aren't they drilling the little wells with the 4-inch casings? Why are they drilling wells now with the 9-inch casings? Why would you spend all that money if there's no proven oil to prove it? Why wouldn't you just drill a little test well? Because that's more cost effective. Why would you do this, which is not very cost effective, if there's no proven oil? We know there's proven oil. They've proven oil with other wells, and they have reports from other wells stating such. And in these particular wells, if there's no oil underneath of them, why are they so big and ready for production? Right? Do you see the logical reasoning here? So why do we have all this FUD? FUD means fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Why, makes you doubt, maybe they're not real. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe I shouldn't have bought it. Why do we have all this FUD? If MMTLP was honestly worthless, if our dividend was honestly 35 cents, $1, if it was that low, why would there be so much FUD surrounding this? Inundated all day, every day. Why would there be this if there was honestly nothing there? Right? Again, look at the logic in it. There's several reasons for this. It goes with people who want the price of this to go down. Either they're shorting it or they just want the price to go down. Or it's a crabs in the bucket mentality. people have been waiting for the special dividend now for over a year in some regards. I've been waiting for this for over a year. Since January of 2021, I've been waiting for this special dividend. And people are upset that they have to wait longer. People are also upset because of the lack of transparency and communication Meta has had about it. There's been a distinct lack of communication and transparency. And I wholeheartedly agree with the frustration. That's why I never tell people to stop saying when divvy or it annoys me. Because, they're frustrated and they can express themselves. It's their opinion and you're entitled to your opinion, and I respect your opinion because that's the beautiful thing about America is we can have an opinion. We live in a country, in a society where it is our freedom to have this opinion. I might not agree with it, but I'll respect it. I hope people will reciprocate the same respect for me. They might not agree with what I'm saying to them, but if I can get the respect, that would be awesome. I don't expect everybody to agree with me, and if you don't, and really, you shouldn't agree with everybody 100% of the time anyways. You can agree with somebody like 90% of the time, that's great. But if you're agreeing with somebody all the time for everything, I would find that just as suspicious as, people not trusting anybody all the time anyways. I have a hair going on. People are also angry that MMAT is down. They're very attached to Meta. It's their pet. When you go into day trading, they'll tell you, don't marry it. You're in, you're out. Don't marry it. In this instance, it clearly is a marriage. And the relationship is having some issues right now. Or it's their pet, and their pet's sick. The price is down. A lot of people have lost 90% on this stock. They're holding a lot of heavy bags. As a result, they're rather bitter that perhaps maybe that the preferred share has a much sooner payout than MMAT. And they're frustrated that they invested in a business-to-business not service providers. The business, well, they do provide services because they will give you the license, and at their center of excellence, they will show you how to do it. So they do provide that service. But as a business-to-business supplier and licensor of this R&D technology, it's not quite as tech and illustrious as people had hoped. And that's fine to be upset because this was promoted essentially as the future. We're like Tesla. And so far when people invest in it, it's been like, shh, we can't talk about it. NDAs, shh. Because when you're a business-to-business supplier, there are lots of NDAs, especially when it's proprietary technology. And coming to this realization, a lot of people are upset, and it's called the crabs in the bucket. If I can't be happy, you can't be happy. I'm going to bring you down. Do they go to other stocks or securities and say, use the same FUD tactics? A lot of these people will say that MMTLP is a distraction from Meta. Well, okay, any other stock could be a distraction from Meta. Lots of other stocks ran on Friday, March 18th. Meta was one of them, but there's been instances where other stocks are running and Meta sinks. Would they say that those stocks are a distraction? This reminds me a lot, this particular mentality reminds me quite a bit of when the Torchlight Meta merger happened right before, and this stock went from like $2 to $10 very quickly. Especially once it hit over that $5 mark, it went parabolic. I was there. Once it got over the $5 mark and it was on StockTwits, a lot of people from AMC and GME were saying how this was a distraction from their stock. Don't buy into the stock, guys. It's a distraction. There's only one stock. AMC, GME, there's only two stocks you should ever focus on. This is a lot of that same mentality. MMTLP is a distraction from MMAT. I find that rather, I don't know, like, do they, you know, people, it seems people forget. Do they forget about what happened to them, you know, when this was running, when Torchlight was running? We were told the same thing. This sort of reminds me, like, when I was a child, my sister, something would happen to her, or people would play a trick on her, and then she would turn around a year later or so when she was a bit wiser, and she'd play the trick on me as a gullible little sister. And I did the same for my brother. My sister played a trick on me, and I tried to play the same trick on my gullible little brother, and then he got angry that I played tricks on him. But it's like this passing down of tricks, because you're like, is this a valid trick? Can I really manipulate somebody like this? And then you learn. So this sort of reminds me of that. You know, somebody played a trick on you, then you're going to turn around and use the same tactic on somebody else. It gives you a little bit more sense of empowerment, I guess. And, you know, kind of like the do one, or see one, do one, teach one mentality, right? It's like it kind of solidifies it in your brain, what you just experienced. Again, there's a lot of sourness involved in MMT. Honestly, it's your money. And brass tacks, you can either choose to buy more. You're given the right to buy more. Or you can sell it if you honestly feel that scared. Or you can do nothing. Or you can hold. Doing nothing is doing something. So you have 4 choices. Some people equate holding with doing nothing, but really, if you never bought this to begin with, you know, you can't really hold it. So you can hold it, buy more, you can sell it, or you can do nothing. Or just watch Bird Lady. That's fine. It's your money. I can't tell you what or what not to do with it. And neither should anybody else, really. And if people want to use FUD tactics at you and nothing else is working, I would ask them, why are you so concerned about my money? You know, it's my money ultimately. Do you tell people, don't buy that car? That's a terrible investment. Don't buy that car. Nobody wants that car. That car is a distraction from trains, you know. Replace MMTLP with ice cream, you know, and MMAT with cookies or something. Just replace the nouns and see how logical a lot of this will sound. Alright guys, that's my presentation for today. Again, a lot of it is just dispelling the current FUD that's out there. I'm hoping this presentation looks a bit better. I might go to the old method of, you know, editing and doing pictures. It took a bit longer. It takes longer to do that. The pros to that is if I mess up or stutter a bit or mispronounce a word, I can edit that out in post. This one, I'm not too sure. And my computer might not be fast enough to deal with this. I might have to go to the old video editor until such a time where I can afford a new, better computer. But I am very excited about the value of the dividend. I'm very excited. I'm not expecting anything other than a letter from Meta by the end of this month. But if there is a presentation, if they're able to at least give us a presentation by the end of this month, I'd be very happy. I'm not expecting it. We have, at this point, 11 days left in the month. What is it, 9 trading days? That's off the top of my head. So if they were to pull something out, you don't know. I'm hoping, but, you know, it could be last minute like last time where they just give you a letter and says, oh, we're working on it. So far, that's the last 2 things we've gotten. Again, the lack of transparency is very frustrating, and for some people, it's very suspicious, the lack of transparency. Why is there a lack of transparency? You know, I've equated this to a potential buyer kicking the tires. Or it honestly could just be terrible management on Meta's part. There's different ways it can go. They're not oil people, so maybe they don't know how to manage it quite right. But why don't they have the managing team take care of this, right? I don't understand this whole lack of transparency. If you're not oil people and you're not familiar, so you don't do it, why don't you give it to somebody who is? You clearly have an expert managing oil team that has lots of experience, young and aggressive. Why don't you let them handle it? I don't know. I'm hoping that a lot of those questions will be answered in the presentation. What questions can they answer? I don't know. But I am very excited, guys, for the value of the dividend and the current market situation that we're in that has only appreciated the value of our dividend. But again, I'm sticking to 29 to 46 to be conservative. If it's more than 46, I won't complain. Just the whole timeline of this, I would say, is the negative ordeal. But the actual value of the dividend hasn't changed. I will see you soon. Goodbye.